Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Social Liability Podcast, the podcast that explores all those people that break the social contract we've all agreed to live by. And we've got a special episode all about stories that happened outside of the United States, so we're calling this Social Liabilities International. You've got some goodies lined up for us there, Bucky, but I've also got one submitted by a viewer that I think matches up pretty well with the theme of today's episode.
Right on. Go for it, brother. Go for it.
So let's start out with one of the ones you came up, and this is we're gonna work our way up to the crescendo. But let's start out in jolly old England. So the Star, which is a UK paper, reports brewery boss shuts down Sheffield pub after not serving his favorite dessert.
Yeah.
A popular pub in Sheffield was closed suddenly after its managers were reportedly fired following a visit by the brewery boss. The Cow and Calf. Now let's just talk about that for a second. That's the name of the bloody restaurant, or the pub. The Cow and Calf.
Well, I mean, people across the pond are a little strange to begin with. So, I mean, whatever. I mean, it's not something we would go and frequent here in the USA, but in the UK, at least it's something for us to be able to joke about.
I don't know. If I saw a bar that had the balls to call themselves the Cow and Calf, I think I might roll in.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, like, we roll into Hooters.
So the Cow and Calf in Grenoside, I think it's how you pronounce it, shut indefinitely on Tuesday, just weeks after it had reopened following the easing of lockdown measures. After customers expressed their shock, Louise Brownhill, who had run the pub with her husband Steve since last year, took to Facebook to explain what happened. Of course, you can't just mind your own business. You have to explain yourself on Facebook, of all places. She said
where we all of our news, by the way, all reputable news sources come from Facebook. Oh yes.
Oh, that's where all the scientists work out their problems.
Yes, and the doctors. That's where exactly. Whatever. Continue on.
She said Humphrey Smith, owner of the Samuel Smith Brewery, to which the pub belongs, had visited that day and been disappointed when they were unable to serve him his favorite dessert. They were fired, she claimed, despite explaining that they didn't have the dessert, understood to be a chocolate fondant, because they hadn't been provided with a freezer. She said, we are sad to be leaving, as we have made great friends here, but onwards and upwards, she added. So, dude rolls in, and I don't know exactly what the dynamic is, but apparently the brewery owns the pub, and the pub didn't have a chocolate fondant, and so dude just fires the managers.
Because now...
because they didn't... Because the brewery did not give set up the pub with a freezer. But so this guy's just like, oh well, screw you. I guess you should have adapted and overcome and expected to know my taste and requirements.
That's like when I was a kid and we would be on road trips and we'd tell my parents, like, Mom, Dad, we're thirsty. My dad would turn around and be like, drink your spit.
Oh.
It's like you don't need a freezer, It's like
kind of do. But so the pubs are a lot different than we expect bars to be here in the States. Like a pub is it's a social gathering place. People go there to eat, drink, and be merry. Whereas in the United States, we just go there to drink and be angry.
But apparently they can't have any cold shit. I mean, like, they got fired because they... What the shit?
Yeah, so I want you to come into my... It's like hiring someone to come into your house to clean, saying, you don't have to bring your own supplies, but everything's here. Then get there, you don't have a vacuum cleaner, and you fire them for not vacuuming.
Well, no wonder those people didn't have a vacuum cleaner. They obviously suck to begin with.
This strikes me as the kind of person who's never been in charge of anything their entire life, and now that they were finally put in charge of something, they have to show everybody how big their freaking dick is. I mean, god damn. So she went on to say, "Thank you for all your support, and we hope to see you at our next venture." The brewery declined to comment when approached by the star. Customers reacted with dismay to the news of the pub's closure, with one describing how the outgoing managers have been a breath of fresh air to the place and served amazing food.
Without a freezer.
Without a freezer. Humphrey Smith has reportedly ordered managers of the pub to ban customers from swearing or using mobile phones inside, with anyone caught breaking those rules liable to be thrown out. When the pub reopened following the lockdown, it is understood that the prices of the drinks at Samuel Smith's pub rose by up to €1 each. So,
this dude obviously does not want to stay in business. I mean, like, there are easier ways to hang up the fucking towel, man.
I think
like,
he's looking for
he's probably trying to go down a flaming cartwheel of death. He doesn't want to just go out of business. Like, he wants it to be known.
I mean, if this was in the U.S., I'd be saying that he's looking for a tax write-off, but I don't know how the taxes work in the U.K., so... So I'm going to fire the managers that everyone loves because I'm a douche canoe. I'm going to raise the prices, and then on top of that, if you swear in the bar or use your phone, I'm going to throw you out.
And the guy still doesn't have the stones to buy a fucking freezer.
Yeah, that's the big question. I want to reach out to this pub and find out if there's actually a freezer yet. And if it wasn't, honestly, dude, if it wasn't on an international call, I would be on my phone right now trying to call that pub. I'd be trying to call that pub right now.
Oh man, I mean, I just can't get off of that. Like, seriously.
We've all seen places like that, though. Like, back when I still lived in Pennsylvania, there was the town I lived in. You know the town. It was about the size of a postage stamp, and it's probably a really bad analogy to use because the town was so small that it didn't have a post office.
Right.
We had to share one with the next town over, and so like, though I lived in town A, my address was whatever town B, which incidentally I go to closing on Tuesday. Haha. So, this restaurant opened up, and it was great. It was bloody great. Even at the time I was working in probation, and I had people on work release working there, I still went there because it was a good restaurant. And I had a monicum of trust for those inmates. Don't ask me why, I just did. And it was good food. The problem they ran into was it was right next to a church, a big church. And a lot of the parishioners would come over there and get their coffee and then just camp and then never leave. So they were always full of, the most pious people in town, and they weren't spending money. So eventually they had to start cutting costs. So they were getting cheaper ingredients. The prices were going up, and it was just annoying being in there. And they ended up killing themselves. But this particular instance, this is all like avoidable shit. This guy is just an idiot.
I bet you they had a freezer.
They did have a freezer. They had a big walk-in freezer. And for whatever reason, it's just, I don't understand why you think, business is bad. I'll raise prices. That'll help. Because that brings people in. High prices always brings people in. What a freaking boob. So, moving on. We're going to Israel for our next story.
Ooh.
A man reportedly robbed almost 8... Okay, so this is I'm not sure if this is translated, but it's really hard to read. A man reportedly robbed almost $8,000 from 2 banks in Israel while carrying an avocado that looked like a grenade.
That's awesome.
I mean, it takes some freaking chutzpah.
I'll tell you what, man.
Oh, come on! I don't get credit for that.
I was about ready to give you credit for the Yiddish reference. I mean, like, seriously. But it just figures that the country where everybody's a frontline citizen, we would find a social liability there. Yes, yes, yes. So, very well done.
A man reportedly robbed 2 banks in Beersheba, maybe? Beersheba, Israel, armed with an avocado. A resident faces charges in connection with aggravated robbery after stealing $7,778 from 2 postal bank branches. The suspect, 47, walked into Big Beersheba shopping mall's post bank branch in southern Israel. Oh my lord, that's hard to say. And gave the bank teller a note telling them to hand over all the money in the drawer before threatening to throw a grenade, according to the report from Israel's Channel 12 News that was cited by the Times of Israel. The grenade, however, was a painted avocado, according to the reports. There actually is video of it, but the Times of Israel reported that the suspect left the location with more than $4,445 in cash. That is converted in from the Israeli script. The man reportedly robbed a second postal branch, this time at the Orange Shopping Center, 5 days after the first alleged robbery. Again, the suspect threatened to tell her with an avocado that was said to have looked like a grenade before walking away with $3,334 in cash, according to the Times of Israel. We've all seen the trope of the guy with the hand in the pocket pretending he had a pistol, but I can't think of a time where someone has robbed anybody with fruit. At least I think it's fruit.
You know what? There may be something in the Jewish faith against guacamole. Like, we may not know. I mean, like, perhaps there was some. No, there wasn't. There's no underlying threat there. There's just the guy robbed a bank, not just one but 2 with the fucking fruit.
Is an avocado a fruit?
I believe so.
I'm not really sure if an avocado is a fruit or a vegetable, but it doesn't matter. I mean, this guy had the nuts to paint an avocado to look like a grenade. And this is in Israel, for God's sakes, where everyone has a gun.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta have a set on you. I mean, this is, and you know, when I was working for a loss prevention company, you know, I still tell people this day when they ask me what I did for them, I tell them I was a professional shoplifter, because I would go in and I'd spend 2 or 3 days robbing these places blind, and then we'd come in and show them, you know, this is everything that we stole without you even thinking about it. And, you know, this is the way you can prevent that in the future. I could do a whole episode on just that. But the biggest thing I was always telling people was, when I was training new people to do what we did, you just have to just not care. I mean, seriously, we used to do it to Walmarts, and I would legitimately I'd take a cart, walk back to the electronics section, I'd grab a couple TVs, and walk out the front door. I mean, nobody ever stopped you. And if you just ignored them and kept walking, that was the end of it. It was ridiculous. But this guy paints an avocado, walks into the store, and says, if you don't give me all the money, I'll make guacamole out of you.
Yeah. That's just the best. That's just the best. I mean, like, seriously. Not really the best. Like, you know what I mean by it. Whatever.
During the alleged robberies, the suspect reportedly wore headwear, including hats, sunglasses, and an eye patch, making it tough to discern their identity from security footage. However, the Times of Israel reported the police were able to track down the suspect after monitoring cell phone activity following several leads. The suspect, who remains nameless, had previously served a 3-year prison term after facing charges in connection with another robbery, according to the Times of Israel. Representatives of the postal bank did not immediately respond to the insider's request for comment. I
That
mean,
makes so much sense now. Now I know why he used the avocado and he got away with it because the cucumber did not work before and he got 3 years in the pokey for it.
they, I mean, it kind of brings back to that, like I said earlier, that old trope of somebody putting their hand in their jacket and putting their finger out and saying, "I got a gun." But the thing about it is, and I don't know about Israeli law, but I can tell you in the United States, that's still an armed robbery charge. If you lead someone to believe that you do have a weapon, especially a weapon such as a grenade, you're still getting charged as though you actually had it.
Do you remember when we worked in the prison, that kid who tried to rob the bank with a penknife?
With a what?
He had a Swiss Army knife. He told the lady that he told the lady that he was robbing the bank. He passed her a note. He had a penknife. Passed her a note that said that I'm robbing the bank. Lady looks at him and says, "We're out of money." And he goes back into the parking lot to change his clothes in the parking lot where the police apprehended him.
I remember the guy going to the bank and saying, "Give me all the money," and they say, "We're out of money." I didn't know there was a Swiss Army knife involved.
Yes, yes. I worked that housing unit quite a bit, so I used to just listen to that kid rap about shit like that all the time, and I was just like, wow. Talk about some short sells.
Could you just
Like,
you know the sad thing? The sad thing about that is the teller probably got in trouble. The teller probably got in trouble because they are specifically told in training that if someone demands money, you just give them the money. That you don't resist in any way. And
he probably wrote he passed him a note. I know that. He probably wrote it in crayon. And that's why the teller was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna roll the dice.
there was another and this again was while you and I were both working in the prison system. There was an individual, and I even know which bank it was. They pulled up, and I guess his girlfriend was working at the window, and he came up drove up to the window outside, and he had got a new paintball gun. So he had pointed the paintball gun out the window and said, "This is a robbery." And somebody else in the bank called it in. And, he just talked to his girlfriend for a minute and left. But he got arrested shortly, just as he was leaving. And they charged him with bank robbery. They charged him with
that guy.
Armed bank robbery. Even though it was a joke to start with. He had no intention of that. But also it was a fucking paintball gun. Outside, pointing at bulletproof glass.
Talking to his girlfriend.
Yes. But he's and even, there's video of the whole thing, and I never saw the video, but I can't imagine it looked all that serious. But nevertheless, he was still charged with armed bank robbery.
I'll bet you the person who called that in was named Karen.
Probably had the haircut and all, man.
Oh yeah, either that or like a lady golfer haircut. Like I could see either or.
Oh my lord! I mean. Actually, there's another instance I remember. Remember when I was in high school, there was an individual who was he decided he's gonna be a drug dealer. I'm gonna sell me some drugs, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take little baggies and I'm gonna put oregano and grass clippings in it, and I'm gonna sell it as weed.
Oh boy, I bet you he got his ass kicked.
Well, I don't know if he got his ass kicked, but I know he did get expelled from school and got charged with dealing drugs because even if it's an analog and you are selling it as though it is the actual product, you're
going down.
You're still getting charged as though it was marijuana, and they still go by the weight too. And he was selling big baggies. So.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, that kid got freaking screwed.
Yes, he did. Never saw him again. Never saw him again. But he probably did. If he hadn't got arrested, he probably got the shit beat out of him.
Oh, yeah. Well, anyhow, man, I Medicaid bought my entire wheelchair, but I've been on the edge of my seat waiting for this last one. So you could just go, come on, man, let's hear it.
Oh my lord, I'm not sure if I can read this one. Fox News report. Mexican Marine humiliates cartel hitmen by taking pictures of them in lingerie.
Yes. 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 This is awesome.
Oh, after years of having Mexico's drug cartels humiliating his country by flaunting their wealth and seeming immunity from prosecution, one Marine is hitting back at the drug trafficking organizations in a curious way. Eric Morales Guevara? Yeah, let's go with that. Guevara has been dubbed El Marino Loco, the Hammer, and Senor Thor by the Mexican media. He has decided to humiliate drug cartel members that he captures. Morales Guevara recently dressed up two alleged cartel hitmen in women's lingerie and forced the men to kiss. After another raid, Senor Thor forced a suspected cartel member to hold a small metal mallet while he held the barrel of an assault rifle to the man's head. I mean, this guy's got to have a heck of a big number on his head right now.
I'll bet you so. But you know what? This is just that whole thing just makes me smile. And but yeah, go ahead, man.
Images published by Breitbart purport to show masked Morales Guevara posing next to a cartel member with a black eye, presumably earned during his capture.
Yes, sir.
I love the writing on this, too. While wearing lingerie. People admitted to the news site that the Hammer's tactics may not be the most orthodox or even strictly speaking legal. But the Morales' unit has been behind a series of major arrests in the area around, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that, across the Rio Grande from McAllen, Texas, and other Mexican cities. I love this. So it's unorthodox. Yeah. It might not even be strictly legal. Well, you know what? When it comes to the cartel, I think they've earned things not to be strictly legal at this point.
Yes. One of the reasons why I loved this so much is because the cartels are the reason why I moved from Mexico back to the United States. It just got too violent down there. And it was their frickin' fault. It was their frickin' fault. So when I saw that this dude was just like, I'm just gonna, you know what? They might get their immunity and whatever, but I'm gonna make them earn it. like that is the worst frickin' thing that you could do is demasculinize a Mexican man. That is like the macho capital of the world.
I mean, strictly speaking, from a cultural standpoint, just the machismo is huge, huge to Mexican culture.
Oh yeah.
So, if you were an individual that was captured by this guy, and let's just take the pictures out of it, even if the implication was made that you were even homosexual, how is that taken in Mexican culture? In general, give us wide strokes. And I know you haven't been there in 20 years.
Yeah, that. Thank you for preambling with that. It really wasn't that frowned upon where I was living. It was just I was closer to Cancun, so it was a little bit more accepted there. But I know the places back in Merida or Coatzacoalcos or off the beaten path places.
The Alabama of Mexico.
Yeah, believe me, there are places down there where we don't take kindly to your type. Is definitely rampant. And
how do you say that in Spanish?
Lárgate a la mierda. It's like, get the fuck out of here.
Nice.
But well, that's pretty much essentially the attitude towards homosexuals, or at least back then it was.
So, and we're not going to go into great detail of this, but you also have experience with the cartels down there. If these guys, even if these guys don't go to jail at this point, do they still have a place in the cartels?
Yes, like that Marine, like he's definitely dipping his toes into a freaking Shark Tank. I mean, like it. He could definitely get like hammered for that.
Hammered.
Like he's probably putting a target on his own back.
Well, that's a given. But I mean, I'm talking about say the guys that he's taking these pictures of, if they get out of jail, which they, it's the cartel. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Can they go back to the cartel at this point? Do they still have standing? Is their reputation just that tarnished that they're?
I think it would really depend on what their position in the cartel is. If they're like an underling or some, rank and file cartel guy, they'll probably get killed. They're probably
because you're embarrassing the whole cartel.
Well, not only that, you're a liability. You've been caught.
True.
Like they're just gonna get rid of you if you're that low on the totem pole. You're out. But if you're higher up, yeah, you can get back in, but it'd be funny to be at the water cooler on Monday. like I wouldn't mind being a fly on the wall to see exactly how that meeting went.
Oh, geez. Well, during a raid of a property in Tampico, maybe, owned by Tampico, owned by Gulf cartel leader Sylvester El Chive Herrero Rodriguez, Morales allegedly confiscated the ashes of the drug lord's late father and defaced a photo of him as well. Oh my god.
Yeah, this dude, like, he must have got, like, a Dear John letter or something. Like, that Marine just doesn't give two fucks.
I mean, it could be patriotism, I guess. You could argue.
I just don't think this guy's got very much to live for anymore. Like he's like, fuck it, I'm gonna go down with a bang.
That and a series of rage angered the Gulf cartel so much they put out banners claiming Morales Guevara, along with other public officials, were on the cartel's payroll and suggested that he be removed from his post. I mean, they're going that far just trying to get rid of this guy. Oh no, he's one of us. Those photos.
That's like blasting somebody on Facebook. Like, that's where the cartel's gonna go with that. Like, this guy, like, seriously, like, this guy is awesome, man. He's got the cartel on their toes so bad that they're like, fuck it, we're just gonna snitch.
It's like when people are rioting in places they shouldn't be rioting. For example, I remember this story from back in the early '80s, or maybe it was the '70s. The Hells Angels took over a town in Elk Garden, West Virginia. Because that's what they used to do. They used to come into town saying, "This is ours now," and 2 days later they asked for a police escort out of town. And it's kind of like the same principle here. The guy going on Facebook to complain that I was trying to buy Coke and I got home and it was laundry detergent.
Like, I'm telling you what, like, either that or he's targeting the cartels that are run by people who are eating Tide Pods. Like, like these, like, that's just great, man. Like, that's where the cartel's going with this. Like, fuck it, man. We can't get you, but we're going to say deplorable things about you in the public eye.
Well, it may have done some good because Morales Guevara was transferred to another region of the country by Mexican officials that told Breitbart he is currently having fun in the Mexican state of... I don't know, where he continues to capture and cross-dress his victims.
Yes, I mean, like, seriously, man, like, this guy is just the best. Like, if
Just-
I could get his autograph, man, like, like, I want a poster of him for my fucking wall.
He's becoming a folk legend, so much so that when the government's asked about this guy who's committing illegal acts, but I mean, it is Mexico, so is anything truly illegal, or is it merely a suggestion? And
It's frowned upon.
it's not illegal, but it's strongly frowned upon. But they're even telling the media, "Oh no, he's off having fun somewhere else, and he's still cross-dressing."
Don't worry, though. We thoroughly slapped his wrists. They were red and swollen when we were done.
No, they didn't slap his wrist. They slapped him on the back after every beer they bought him. I mean, seriously, this guy is like just, super mex.
Oh, man, like, seriously. Like, it just... I'm just beaming over this. This guy...
So they start calling you, Thor, so he starts posing them with little hammers. You're right, though. Somebody hurt this guy, and he just does not care anymore. I mean, the Mexican cartel, the people that gave us such things as the Colombian necktie and burning tires around people. I mean, and this is the organizations. This guy's like, you know what? Fuck it.
If you ain't out of control, you ain't in control, Rads.
Oh.
We're gonna give him a little hammer.
So
we're gonna make you feel so pretty.
And the thing is, this guy's not doing this by himself. There is a whole unit of guys that are doing this. Can you imagine being, your eyes still full of patriotism and words like honor and duty, and we're going to put you with this unit, and you get out there, and this dude's like, hold this camera. I got to do something. How do you take that as like a new recruit faced with, being in a platoon with this guy?
Oh man, it's like you're sitting there, you're like, all right, we're gonna pack up our shit and leave, and then dude's like, whoa,
we ain't going anywhere.
we got one little matter of unfinished business.
Hand me that bag.
That Victoria's Secret bag over there in the back of the van, right behind the Halligan tools. That Victoria's Secret bag right there. I want the pink ones.
And what is the process of getting these guys to wear it? That's the next question.
I don't know, man. I mean, like, if you get caught, your hand slammed the cookie jar, and then you got Senor Thor coming after you. Like, if you don't resist, will he let you pick the periwinkle blue?
Oh man! Now let's not. He does have a gun to their head. I mean, so there is that. I mean, it is Mexico, so you don't know. He may pull the trigger.
I kind of, you know what? I mean, like, I really don't care if he does.
No, it's the cartel.
Well, right. I mean, like, those bastards freaking earned it. Like, that's why I'm laughing about this so much. Like, I want to put this into perspective. Like, those cartel people, man, like, they don't give a fuck. Like, they will kill you and your family and your dog and, like, put their heads, like, of your decapitated children on the wall outside of your house. Like, that's why these people, like, get the reputation and the fear and the compliance that they do, is that they just go like a bull in a china cabinet and just really fuck everything up. And so this one Marine's like, I'm telling you, he's got like zero fucks to give. He's probably got like some real skin in the game, like personally, against these guys. And it's just like, you know what? You took everything from me, and I might be going down, but I'm gonna, if you get me, motherfucker, you're gonna earn it. And like, Like he probably lays his head on his pillow every night going, I might get my door busted in, but you know what? Doesn't matter what kind of brutal way I get killed in, nothing's ever gonna get rid of that internet picture of that dude in a freaking purple pasty with my picture. Like, I did that to you, bitch. Like, you took everything from me. No, you can't even look at yourself in the mirror now. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this guy starts going as far as making him wear makeup. Like, he might get like, we were talking about homosexuals and stuff like that, and it is much widely more accepted in that part of the world. I'll bet you he might have himself like a very interested, Marine, battle buddy that really likes makeup, and he's like, you know what? I got the lingerie.
There is somebody in that platoon right now that is fabulous, and they're gonna spread the joy around the world.
Oh yeah, and he's like, you know what? You got the lingerie. I got these fake eyelashes, and like we can really fuck this up. Like,
but you can't go too far because you still need the guy to be recognizable in the pictures.
Well, I mean, like, you know what though? Just depending on the timetable. I mean, like, you can get like multiple shots in there. I mean, like, who knows? You could really start like a centerfold thing. I could see them starting a calendar.
So that's what I was thinking. There needs to be the cartel calendar.
Oh yeah.
It would be a big hit in Brazil.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Oh yeah. Well, and look how they use the makeup there to make the black eye look like like it's supposed to. Nah.
I love that part of the story too. But sporting a black eye presumably got earned during his capture. I mean, somebody had fun writing this article, but they had great source material to start with.
I'll tell you how it got the black eyes, because he didn't want to put on the damn lingerie and the hammer came down.
Listen, these pictures are already bad enough. Think about it with two black eyes. Well, all right.
Yeah, that's what they didn't put that in there. He only had one black eye because he listened the second time he was told to put that shit on.
Well, unfortunately, since this is the Social Liability International episode, we don't have a Florida man story to go over, which it kind of just hurts me a little bit inside that we couldn't get a Florida man story in there. I was thinking of the avocado, that was close, but not quite. So I couldn't no Florida man theme song in this one, but I promise you for the next episode, the Florida man theme song will return. And we did have a whole Florida episode, so I mean, maybe that gave us a little bit of a buffer. I don't know, but
all that was blood in the water, man. We'll bring Florida man back.
Indeed. So I think that's all we got for this week on the Social Liability Podcast. Make sure you're checking us out on any of the major platforms at this point, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, Breaker, Overcast, Google Podcasts, Pocket Cast, Castbox, Radio Public, and you can also watch and listen on YouTube. And we are actually broadcasting this episode live on my Twitch channel, but for a video podcast, we're having lots of video problems, so maybe not rely on that one just yet. And we'll catch you next week on the Social Liability Podcast, and I hope you all have a brilliant week.